Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to the Future History Project. And this is part 2 of week 23. And I've just finished Renegade by Cordell, Scotten, and that was book number 2 in Isaac Asimov's Robot City, Robots and Aliens. And this was published in 1989. And it's a little different from the others. Isaac Asimov starts with another introduction, and he goes through what he thinks are his sort of best robot stories, and rehashing a lot of the material that he's talked about previously in other writings. But he lists all these, which are kind of interesting, and again, he gives a little summary and why he thinks they're interesting. I might spend a little more, or at least I'll come back to that introduction, I think, at a later date, and talk in more detail about what he says there. Well, we start this story with more aliens, and they're sort of well, see, there's many problems I had with this story, because I could not picture the aliens properly. Every time he tries to describe them, I'm thinking of something different. And there's some illustrations in the back, and they just look like a jet with the bat type wings, and that's not what I was envisioning. Even after 100 pages of describing them. But anyway, there's some kind of aliens, and they're highly intelligent, and they are enclosing the robot city that's there because it is affecting their weather, and it's through their weather they go up into the atmosphere and recharge themselves, get energy that way, and it's affecting. So they're trying to do it, and the robots had tried to stop them, and had inadvertently killed a couple, but they didn't think them as human, or they knew that they were intelligent of some sort, but they didn't treat them all that well. So there's a bit of hostility there. And then so Ariel comes in, and now she's back called Ariel Welsh. In the previous book, she was using her old name a bit. It's a bit confusing. And she lands on this planet, and it's like, it's saying in the narrative that Derek has sent her here. So it's like, oh, okay, we're plopped down into this story, sort of, in deep water, basically. So you're trying to sort of catch up and try to figure things out. So we figure, okay, well, in the first story, Derek had gone off to a distress signal for this other planet, and he's stuck there with Mandelbrot, the robot, and he's tried to get a hold of Ariel, and she can't find her, but he's left messages and things like that. He wants Walruf to come, and so it sort of ends in that guise where she's sort of somewhere, but we know that she's went out after him, has followed him. So from that, you'd assume that she would have wound up on that planet as well. But in this story, she's going to another planet, and she's got another robot. She's got a humaniform robot that's R. Jacob Winterson, or Winterspawn born, something like that. And he's like Daniel. He's one of the Falstaff robots that she got out of storage and bought it from his daughter, and she's very attached to him. Let's put it that way. And there's various thoughts throughout of using him as a sex toy. It's a very strange characterization here, but we'll get to that in a moment. But story-wise, okay, so they are to this planet. We don't know how. Well, we assume that it's Derek that has told her, because that's what it says in the story. But we find out later it's not. She actually sends a message to him to come to help, and this is the first message he's got back from her. So obviously he did not send to her. So there's a big glaring problem with this story for that reason, and many others. What it is that these aliens are going to, they don't want, well, they're not aliens, they're inhabitants. So the humans and the robots are the aliens to this planet. So she's trying to work out a way of, doing things properly, and she hits on that instead of building a city, they'll become farmers. And they'll farm the planet. Because she's saying, oh, it'll feed the whole sector and stuff like this. And I'm going, how big is this bloody planet? Anyway, which is never really said. And it's just, anyway. So she does get Derek there, but she thinks she's solved it with the farming aspect. Because there's another thing that's happening with a signal, hyperspace signal that is disrupting the aliens that are there, or the indigenous population that's there, and it's done by the like Derek's communication system that he has with those chemfrots that are in his body with the robot cities and other robots. Is a consistent system through hyperspace, but it's never really it's talked about. It's there, but then it's sort of dropped. So I don't understand what this is all about, because even the beings are saying, well, that's not really a bad thing. It's just a bit of communication and causing a problem, where it's not like the continuous one seems to be okay, as far as I could tell. And it's the intermittent one that is the normal one of going through hyperspace. And anyway, it's never really explained. It's just sort of tantalizingly there and then dropped. But anyway, Derek, Mandelbrot, and Woolworth go to the planet. It takes them three days to get there, and she has sort of solved this. He thinks it's a little strange, and there's this strange detachment. Like, these are not the characters. Like Ariel, Kate, whatever. Despite all the different authors that wrote the previous series and the first one, so we had 6 different authors already that have written about Derek and Ariel / Kate, and I think their characters have been pretty consistent. Here, it's way off somewhere. It's like this, like they're bickering and stuff. Like, yes, they had a disagreement because he left at the end of the first, for the first one. At the end, I think, of the final volume 6. But it's still not. It's so different here, and she's consistently talking about thinking of having sex with her robot, and it doesn't fit in with the characters that we've already have had established. Also, too, like it's this thing, like she's saying that he's treating her like a stupid woman, and there's this whole male female sex macho-ness. Like, even with the indigenous population of the planet, because they wanted to speak to the he of the species. She can't be, because she's female. She cannot be a leader. And it's like, I'm not sure where this garbage is, literally garbage, I think, it's coming from in this story. And it's just like all the way through. And there's like one character, but anyway, like we had the Silver, what's his name? The robot that sort of was imprinted himself on the indigenous population on the previous planet that Derek was on. They find another one that lands. Just they have to back it up. It's like, well, how does this happen? How did this happened just accidentally that Adam, well, he starts calling himself Adam because there's another one that calls that lands, and he wants it imprinted on Ariel, so she's Eve. And like, you know, they back it and say, oh well, it must be Avery that is behind this. You know, the coincidence is there, but it's just, it's weak. It's yeah, and then like, you know, she's sort of learning stuff, and then like he's talking. Well, he's now taken the guise of Adam as his name, Silver or whatever he calls himself, and he's talking to her, and he says it would have to do. It was so positronically logical is the narration, and then she says, the female robot Eve says, no, not for me. Females often see a different logic. Okay. And it just goes on like that. And, you know, they're getting ready. Like, they've implemented everything with the planet. You know, being a farmer, and they're going to leave, and they talk to the indigenous population. It's like the whole thing is just before they leave, like the narration, it's so weak. It says, there were a strange pair, Adam and Eve, Silverside. Whence did they come? If they didn't profess to obey the laws of robotics, she would have been inclined to term them alien robots. This is Ariel thinking this. What did the future hold for them? And for that matter, what did the future hold for the rest of them, having to deal, as they must, with Adam and Eve? That is so weak, and so, like, I thought I had problems with William F. Wu. This one, like, I liked some of the things in there, because you got these robots that were imprinted, like, they just with the 3 laws of robotics to say obey humans, but they didn't say what humans were. So you've got this Adam Silverside now calling himself, and you got Eve Silverside, who don't know what are, you know, humans. And when one of the indigenous population says, I'm the only human that's on this planet, so you must obey me, like, he first of all believes this, and then he switches back again by talking to someone else. It's like this back and forth, just really sort of weak writing, I think. But then anyway, she gets caught up in this, and yeah, it's an interesting idea of them discovering, of exploring what is a human and how they will put their 3 laws of robotics to use. That is very neat, but I think it's just weakly done. You know, and like, you know, his Ariel's sort of possible sex toy to be gets destroyed by one of the aliens when it explodes, and she is so distraught about this, and she buries the remains in the dirt. And to me, it's very uncharacteristic of the character that we've built up throughout 7 books, basically, so far. There was a bit of change in the first one, but she wasn't in the first one much at all. I don't think at all, hardly. So I can't really say that, but it just doesn't work. It's just, I think it's just very weak writing. Like, it's very schizophrenic and all over the place. And like the plot holes in it, you know, because like the plot is supposed to be, okay, they will become farming on the thing, but that's going to interrupt the weather as well if they turn the whole planet into farms. But then they have a little sentence saying, oh, well, so far everything's okay, the indigenous population says, and you know, they're leaving some grassland at the moment in phase 1 and all this. And it just, it's as if the guy writes this, and then somebody says, oh, well, you haven't said this. Oh, well, okay, I'll put this sentence in. Oh, that's enough. That works. And it's just very weak. Yeah, this like, as I say, the William F. Wu was a weak writer, I thought, and lazy and repetitive. So much repetition. But this one is just it's on a different level. It's differently bad, I would say. And it's the first writer that has really put their own imprint on the series. That is very different. It's very different in tone. The characters are very different. I don't know. I get sort of excited by reading the first few, thinking that they're going to be good, and then poof, it just plummets. So, anyway, I'm still determined. I'm going to be reading the other four, so two more next week. But please be a little better. You know, yeah. I don't know. It just maybe it's a symptom of writers writing in someone else's universe, and they just cannot do it because they either want to imprint their own style on things, which can destroy it, and or change it so much, or just change it so much that it just doesn't work within that universe, or just be lazy and don't do anything. It just doesn't really add anything to the whole story. I don't know. It's not that often I read pastiches and stuff like that. The only stuff I've read a little bit of is Sherlock Holmes pastiche, and I've had similar issues with that as well. So, oh well. Better luck next time, and I'll see you then, Book 2.